Now we're going to try writing simple functions to filter rows of data. Filtering is helpful for when you want to look at a subset of data. It is easier to work with smaller samples. This chopping of data becomes more important as your dataset gets larger. For example, if you have the starting dataset as 1,000,000 rows, then chopping it down to 1,000 will be quicker for your computer to process. Sometimes it even helps you to better test models that you're working on. It is easy to extract small samples with Python. You can copy lists and filter a subset. Similar to writing match conditions for strings, we can also write match conditions for Booleans to filter columns with number types. The filter function, like we saw in the last video, it takes a list of lists and a field name, the column number, and it matches the filter condition. We were working with Booleans, but now we're going to try working with strings and then later with numbers. So let's create a new file. Let's import everything from before. And let's create a function called filter column by string. I want to pass in the data sample first of all, and then the field, and then the filter condition, because we want to actually know what the string should match. And we're going to have filtered rows as a temporary list, and then we're going to return that. Yeah, let's make it plural. That makes sense. Okay. This time, instead of passing in the column number, we're going to try to look for the column number. So let's say column call equals the integer of the header row. Let's look for the header row where the index is matching the field. And then let's add that into the temporary list. We want to make sure we keep the header in our resulting data sample just to keep things consistent. All right, we need a for loop now to go through each item in the data sample. And we're going to filter that to see if it matches the filter condition. So for item in data sample, starting with the second item, which is the data, not the header. If the items column index, if that item matches the filter condition, you want to keep that. You want to keep that item, so you're going to add that to your temporary list. So let's keep that item. And then it'll be returned when we return the temporary list that matches items that match the filter condition. Let's try finding silk ties. So silk ties equals filter by column by string. We're going to pass in data from CSV. And let's search by the material type that matches silk. Whoops, we're printing out everything. We want the length of the silk ties. Or rather, the function we created, number of records. So let's clear this, and let's run it again. Found 3,382 silk ties out of the 5,000 or so. We can do something similar with this. And let's look for wool and cotton. Wool ties and also there's a lot more silk and wool than cotton ties. Okay, let's also try reusing this function for, oh, actually let me format. Let's make everything look better with the code really quick. So we do something similar as this, but we can find brand names. So we want to know how many ties are of Gucci brand that are being sold here. So we have the same data sample, but this time we want to filter by brand name and Gucci. Let's see, how many have we found? So let's see, found that many Gucci ties. And we're going to say return number of records of Gucci ties. Okay, so we have the parentheses matching the right number. We have 171 Gucci ties. Now I'm going to clear this and then comment out the print statements, and I'll show you how to filter by the number types. Clear, and there we go. I'm gonna do that. Clear that actually. Okay. So we're going to create a new function that's very similar. It's, instead of filter column by string, we're going to filter by float. We're going to have the data sample again and the field. And we're going to say a direction for greater than or less than. And then the filter condition of the number that it should match or be greater or less than. Again, we're going to have a temporary list, and we're going to return that list. Oh, let's make it grammatically correct. Once again, we want to find the column index number. And we want that to be an integer because you need an integer to access indexes in a list. We also want to make sure our condition is of the float type. And we want to actually go ahead and try to match each item with the conditions. So we need a for loop. The element to match should be a float type and then the row with the column index. So this would be the price or whatever number that you're working with. If the direction is less than, then we want to use if element is less than condition and filtered rows append row. So we'll be repeating that. If the direction is less than or equal, then we want less than or equal. And we're going to keep continuing this. Oops. And we have one more condition here for equals. And if it doesn't match any of these, we want to just pass. Let's try out this function, and let's try to find ties that are all less than 20 bucks. Oops, we want to make sure it's ties, not tiles. Let's see if this works. Whoops, we want to have not the list. Let's clear this. We want the number of records. We want the number of records, and that would be like that. Python s3v2.py. So we found 38 ties under 20 bucks, and that's pretty awesome.